Hello and welcome to the 1.2 update video for Projector Simulator Pro. 1.2 is all about enabling more complex images to be projected than your usual image files. In this version, we add the projection mapping feature, which allows us to simulate warping onto all sorts of screen shapes, even with multi-channel systems. And it adds the virtual cave feature, which allows real-time head tracking to be simulated on cave screens. So first, let's take a look at the projection mapping feature. I have a prefab of a car model with animated materials and rotating wheels. This is the content that we are going to project and can be thought of as the content prefab. In my design scene, I have the same car model, but with no animations and with the materials replaced with a standard grey screen material. You can see I also have 3 projectors projecting onto it. If I press play, it appears as if the animated car has replaced the screen car. However, if I move the car outside the projector's light paths, you can see that it is indeed still the grey screen car. So how does it work? It's quite simple to set up. If I select the screen car, you can see that I've added the Projector Sim Pro projection mapping script. I've given it the animated content prefab car I showed earlier and told the script which projectors are lighting up the object. Now when I hit play, the content prefab is created some distance below the screen object. For each projector, a camera is created, and the camera's view of the content prefab is made to match the projector's light path onto the screen object. Notice how the interior of the car appears distorted. This is because the car interior is being rendered from the perspective of the projector. Usually, you should not have transparent materials such as glass in your content prefab to ensure your model can be viewed from any angle. If a specific observer location is known, you would have to pre-warp the appearance on the content prefab. We can apply the same principle to standard screen shapes. Here I have 2 projectors mapped onto a dome. I'm going to duplicate the dome and apply an emissive material to my content prefab. Now I'll add the projection mapping component to the screen and assign my content prefab and 2 projectors. Now when I hit play, the projectors create a continuous image that appears warped to fit the screen. The only limitation really is that there is no blending functionality, so you end up with increased brightness where projectors overlap. Switching to linear color space improves the appearance of the blend region, but makes shadowing less noticeable in those regions. Now onto the virtual cave feature. Virtual cave allows dynamic head tracking to be simulated with the cave screen type. For now, it only works when we have one projector perfectly aligned to each face. For the side projectors, I have set their horizontal resolution to match the vertical, as the sides are square to fit the floor. I have created my virtual content to be shown inside the cave elsewhere in the scene. This virtual scene has a game object inside it to act as the spawn point for the cave view. I can then tell the virtual cave component where the spawn location in my virtual world is, and which object to track for the perspective correction, which is normally your main camera. I then tell it which projector is aligned to which face. Now when I hit play, the virtual scene is projected onto the cave, and you see the images aligning at the edges. When I move my camera around, the virtual views are updated accordingly so that the perspective always looks correct from the eye point. So let's see what this looks like in a VR headset. Here, I've duplicated the screen and its projectors in order to have individual left and right eyes. I've set the stereo mode on the projectors to the corresponding eye and have each cave on the corresponding eye layer. Now SteamVR by default seems to only have one camera for both eyes. I've disabled it and added 2 new SteamVR cameras, one for each eye, and then added a child object for the eye with an IPD offset in the x-axis. I've set the culling masks on these cameras to ignore geometry on the other eye's layer. I've also got it ignoring the virtual content layer so we cannot see the virtual world outside of the cave. Finally, I just need to drop the eye objects onto each virtual cave script. Okay, I'm now in VR and I'm inside the cave and everything looks 3D to me. It's a bit hard for you to tell on the 2D screen, but it does look as if that cube is right there, but of course it's not because it's a projection. So you can see I'm casting a shadow from that projector up there. whereas all these screens are rear projected. I've got some controls set up so I can move around my virtual scene, as well as move around the cave with the right one. So if I should be able to go over here and see this projector. And yes, the tracking, I've got it set up so the tracking is only active inside the cave. So if I go too far outside, then it stops doing the perspective correction. We can go over here and we can see that it's definitely a live projection. It's not just a render texture on the screen. Yeah, it looks exactly like being in a real cave. A little bit of a geometry alignment issue maybe, but I've been in worse caves. Yeah, it looks good. In the video description, you'll find links to the asset store page, the documentation, and the Unity forum thread. I hope Projector Simulator Pro 1.2 will allow you to create some really impressive visualizations.